The issue of deregulation and the issue particularly of corporate tax, is that something where is there from America's point of view first, not just from GE's, but from America's point of view, is there something you particularly want them to do in that field?
Well, let me start with taxes first.
Yeah.
So you basically have an economy that is in what I would call an investment recession. The consumer's spending, companies aren't reinvesting back in capital expenditures and things like that in the United States. That's been going on for a long time. Tax reform is one way to encourage that right behavior. So I think insofar as our tax policy is 30 or 40 years old, if we could get some improvement, that's going to help GE, but it's going to help everybody broadly to simplify the tax code.
Is it just purely simplification, or is there a sort of radical rethink to do with?
Look, I mean, I think people follow what the tax code says, right?
Yeah.
One part of it is just simplification, the ability to repatriate capital around the world. Just be like Germany or the UK or Japan. That would be great. That'd be amazing. And then if you want to help exporters or manufacturers or try to change the balance, there's ways to do that, right? Speaker Ryan has a plan. The president's talked about things. Some of those would be helpful.
And do you think there's a possibility that this is an area where business can have a sort of benign effect on the administration?
Oh, look, I think it's a place where you're going to have different camps in business who have different, I respect Walmart, but we're going to have a different perspective on tax reform as Walmart. Doesn't mean they're a bad company or G's good or vice versa. We're going to have a different starting point as it pertains to that. So I think all of our voices need to be heard. But if the president can't act on tax reform with a Republican Congress and a Republican presidency, that is a big miss for where we are right now. And then I think on regulations, look, the fact is regulations have exploded. Now, we need regulations, but they should be massively simplified, and I think the president has the right instincts for that as well.
Do you think there's a way, some people who look at this think that actually regulations and these sort of complications actually help large companies like GE, because you have the ability at least to be able to deal with it?
There's a lot of truth in that, John. Again, here's what I would say. Regulations differentially punish small businesses much more than big companies, because we can hire as many lawyers as we need to, right? It's hard for a small company. I would make another point that the more complicated we make globalization, it's not going to stop me from globalizing, because we can have a local team in every country around the world if we have to. But it takes every small company that ever wanted to globalize, they're now off the grid. They're going to have no chance to globalize in that world.
So it might play back to the big multinational. We go back to the world, I suppose, before the current global era, where companies like GE had separate subsidiaries all the way around the world, and they functioned in different ways.
Again, I read your old publication, The Economist, had a story saying big multinationals are really going to struggle in this new world. I think it's precisely wrong. They're precisely wrong. We're the only people that can navigate in this world. Really, we're in 185 countries. When I go see the president of Nigeria, I bring in a room full of Nigerians. I can get business done in Angola. I can finance business in Angola when their own treasury can't.
By contrast, if you were a small company in Boston trying to export to Nigeria without free trade, it's much harder.
No chance.
Yes.
Not one chance. So again, if we want to create jobs in the United States, we need some relationships around the world. That's where business people can communicate with the president to say, let's have more friends.
Just one last thing on that tax reform. I think you alluded to it, this basic idea of solving the corporate tax headache of companies like yours having all this money offshore that you would like. You think there's a deal to be done there?
I really do.
Yeah.
I think there's always been a deal to be done. I think the question is what's the tax rate coming back in? Where will the capital be used? We're quite open to that discussion.
And is the basic deal one where the corporate tax rate goes down, but all the deductions go? You have fewer exceptions.
Exactly. And for us, when we have cash overseas, it's because we do business overseas.
Yeah.
That's where we sell things in Europe and in other places. So it's not a nefarious, got 3 guys in a building in Luxembourg or something like that. It's because we're selling gas turbines or jet engines or things like that